6 months or a year of building relationships, talking to people, shaking hands, and just showing them that I'm able to be trusted and I'll help somebody no matter what it takes, you know?
Tulsa Talks is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
Our guest today is Dominic Schultz. He's an SEO guy, search engine optimization. If you need to be found online, that's what he does. He helps people get found.
I've got a tagline for that, actually.
Go.
If you want to get found online, call Digon Design.
There you go. Beautiful.
Thanks.
So earlier we were talking about your level of interest in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And that driving you to the place you are now. We started basically when you were 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Can you start there for us, please?
Sure. So take it back there. Yeah, I was 17, sitting in my second hour in high school, and I had all this detailing stuff I had just ordered. I spent like $400 of my mattress money. I had it laying under the bed there, and I wanted to just keep my own car perfect. I was like, well, I just spent a lot of money. Maybe I can do it for a couple other people and just try to recoup some of this. And I've been going on like the auto detailing subreddit and just learning all these different tips and tricks and learning from the people who were the masters posting content at the time. I remember there was this one guy, his name was Larry. His company was Ammo NYC. And I learned about everything I needed to know about car detailing from that guy. He still posts this day. He's super cool.
Does a good job or has good tips.
Oh, phenomenal tips. And he just showed the curtain behind the business and just the techniques. And he was really down to the nitty gritty, which is what I needed. And I'd learned all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I need to do it for other people. So I posted my first ad on Craigslist. I got this disgusting van. It was so bad. That was my first customer. My dad, he came with me, he helped me out. It's like an hour from home. I got all my stuff packed into my Lincoln Town car that I'd shined up myself because I wanted to keep it pretty as my first car. My dad, I call it the limo. I probably can't say what my dad wanted or what he called it, but he had a very affectionate name for her. But yeah, that was the first thing, and that business is.
So how'd the van turn out?
It turned out great, but the during, it took forever. It was probably 6.5, 7 hours. It was like these 3 kids and a dog had lived in it for years. There was boogers. I was steam cleaning off of the seat, which they've got a really unique smell to them. So I don't recommend that to anybody if you're not faint of heart. But it turned out great. It turned out really good. He was happy. I charged him like $100 for it. It took me 6 hours. Like
A lot of work.
That was a lot of work. But hey, it was the first one I got. And I was like, yeah, I get to pay for some of these chemicals I bought to clean my own car with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you get any repeat customers out of that, or was it just a good experience where you were able to learn how to do that more?
Yeah. For that business, when I was just starting it up, I wasn't the brightest when it came to business. I just wanted to get stuff done for people. So it was a lot of one-offs, and I had to learn how to market it. I had to make my own website and figure out how to get placed on Google. And I was getting calls from all these agencies in India, like saying they'll do ads for me. And I was like, what are you talking about? What is this stuff? And I didn't have much money, but I had a lot of time to try and figure stuff out. And eventually I got it figured out enough where I was able to spend like $400 or $500 every month and get a couple thousand back and put that in my pocket as a side job while I work my day job.
Nice. So then you went to college after you graduated high school.
Yes, sir.
And you were working where during college?
A couple places. So I worked at Walmart for almost 4 years from high school into college. And then I left Walmart and went and worked at this little mom and pop auto shop. It was like 45 minutes from my house instead of my 10-minute Walmart commute. But it was a lot nicer. Pay was better. The people were cooler. And it was in a place where I was able to get nurtured a lot. The business owner, his name was Vince. He taught me a lot of stuff, whether he realized it or didn't. I learned how to sell over the phone, got my trademark phone voice from that. I learned a lot about fixing cars that I can hold on to this day pretty much. And he was really nice in the fact that he let me run my business out of the back of the shop after hours. He gave me a key to just lock the place up when you're done. Give me a cut off the top and we'll call it even.
Wow, that was nice.
It was very nice.
So then how did you transition into your entrepreneurial business at 26 years of age? When was that?
So that was the lead technician at that shop. His brother owned an electronics manufacturing company. And he liked my attitude. He's like, I want you to come work for me. I was like, well, I'm still in school, sir. I got 2 more years left on my degree. He's like, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to forget all that anyway. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, just come work for me. So I said, okay. That was February of 2020. at an
So you
electronics
took a
company.
step of faith out of what your path was to go to work for somebody. And how long had you known this guy when you went to work for him?
I knew his brother for, gosh, probably like 3, 4 years because I was friends with his son.
Yeah.
And this guy, maybe a few months, but I'd known a lot about him through some of my friends, and one of my friends worked at like an internship thing for him as well. So he was familiar to me, but more of like a second degree, I think.
Yeah. And what did he have you do?
So I got to be what was called an electronics process engineer. So it was imagine a assembly line of like 5 or 6 different machines. We'd take these bare green circuit boards, nothing on them, all the little microelectronics, and we'd use a process called SMT, surface mount. And we would take this bare board. It would have just the traces and like these electronic pads. We would screen solder onto it, then we would send it into what's called a pick and place machine, where it would take this vacuum head and like pick all these little parts out of reels, and they're like small, like ant sized, and go really fast, like hundreds of parts per minute on some of these. And then it would leave that machine, go down the line, and go into an oven, which we had to program and figure out the different temperature profiles to melt everything perfect without overcooking it. And then if it was a double-sided one, we'd have to let it cool down. And the next time we were running the opposite side, we'd do that. And it was my job to oversee the whole process, start to finish, especially when new stuff came in. It was my job to figure out how to set up the assembly line and make all the machines dance to make the product.
Wow.
And I loved it. It was such rewarding work.
How many people were working with you in that system?
Gosh, I think there were like 6 or 7 of us in the front office and about 20 in the back that handled the production. So I would work up in the office and handle like the stuff that came in from the customers. And then I would go into the back some days and work with the production team and figure out how to build everything. And the production would come to me if there was problems with the process. And we just kind of work back and forth together to iron it all out. Sometimes I would go in the back and run the machines for a day or two just so I could see how it worked myself and try to work out the bugs myself while I was at it.
Yeah. So you were basically 21 years old, over 20 people in a production line, making sure that it was all done right. You designed the process and you allowed them to do the fulfillment portion of it. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah. Though I had to learn a lot from the guy. I was supposed to take over for somebody who was retiring. So he was
That
kind of
fellow
that mentorship relationship.
that fellow that hired you must have thought a lot about you.
He liked my attitude, is what he said.
Yeah. And what I found after being in business for 30 years as a contractor is attitude is key.
Oh yeah.
Attitude with enough abilities and giftings um, goes forever in life, in my humble opinion. That's what
100%.
I've seen. Those people that want and have drive can excel, and whatever excelling is, you know, there's a debate on that. What's the best life? The best life is the one that each of us should live.
Hmm.
You're living this life, over 20 people at 21 years old, worked there for how long?
Let's see. I started in February. I left in August of that year because the chip shortage hit us and we just weren't able to do anything. We had products sitting on the shelf that we couldn't finish because we couldn't get the parts from China. So since a lot of the electronics were made there, or they're made in Taiwan, and all the supply chain stuff was just a nightmare. And we held out for a lot of it, but eventually it just came to a point where there wasn't a whole lot to do. And so he was paying us to commute into work and come in every day because he had a big war chest of money because he was a smart businessman. And he said, "No, I love my team and you guys do great work. And I want you to be here for when we start this back up again. You don't need to get other jobs."
Wow.
He was ready to endure. He was going to spend as long as it took, so long as he didn't run out of money.
And what did you do when you transitioned from that job?
I got to a point where I was scrolling in my cubicle every day. I was sitting on the internet because there was nothing left for us to do, and we had cleaned the facility like 3 different times over and just done all the busy work we could at that point. So I was listening to audiobooks about like self help and business on my commute to work every day. I found a certain book, led me to an online forum that led me to a course about web design, online marketing. I was like, oh, I know a lot about this stuff. It's like I need to figure out how to get customers for it, but why can't I use what I'm using to help myself and my little side business here for other people? Like, why can't I help people that way?
Yeah.
And certainly it's worth a try. He said I could always come back. It's not like we were doing much anyway.
So what was your first step after you educated yourself up a little bit more about what you were doing for yourself. How did you take that first step into the serving others with that skill?
Yeah. First step in serving others. The
Yeah, how did
biggest
you
thing
get your
was
first
finding
customer?
Yeah, the biggest thing was finding others to serve, I think.
Yeah.
My first customer, as a matter of fact, I made a website for, my old job, so I don't wanna count that as a first customer because that was more of a freebie. Like, I need stuff in my portfolio, to show
What you just said discounted what your actual first step.
Yeah,
Your first step was doing something to show somebody that you could do something,
that's right.
and you happened to do it for free or almost free.
Almost free. I wanted to do
Okay.
it for free, and he insisted on paying me like 500 bucks.
Okay. And then you, in turn, after that, got the second customer.
Yeah, just one into the other. That it was really slow going until I moved back here. So, like, I'd like to say I didn't make a dollar my first year, and for the most part, I mean, I didn't. I made 500 bucks. I guess that discounts it a little bit, but for the most part, yeah, I didn't make anything with that business. I moved back from Illinois to Oklahoma in January of 2021. I got an apartment and just started trying to figure business stuff out because I had nothing else to do. And I just had my little hole in the wall I was living in with a computer to figure my life out. And I was making some progress, but not a whole lot. The biggest thing that like opened the world up to me was when I started going to networking groups. I was on LinkedIn. This lady, her name was Corey Snelson, I think. She sent me a message and invited me to a local networking group in Owasso that I went to, and that really opened up a lot of opportunity and doors for me after 6 months or a year of building relationships, talking to people, shaking hands, and just showing them that I'm able to be trusted and I'll help somebody no matter what it takes. I'll give you as much free advice as you can take and act on if you want it, and if you don't, then if you just want me to do it for you, I can do that too. And that's how I got my first two customers was out of that group, and then it just kept going and going from there.
And about how many customers do you have on an annual basis now?
Um,
Like in 2025, how many customers do you expect to serve?
it's hard to say on a customer number basis. I usually look at it by revenue. So,
Okay. Didn't
and
want to go into your
oh no,
that
it's
realm
okay.
too much,
No, it's
but
fine.
what is your annual revenue expectation for 2025?
For 25, I like do 500,000.
And
And
this is a
20,
fairly low overhead business, right?
yeah, about 1,000 bucks a month overhead.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah. So you going to retire early?
See, that's a funny question. When it comes to retirement, like I got problems sitting still. I get that
Me
itch.
too.
It's like when I was working that job I left in Illinois just because I got burnt out with the commute and I wasn't doing anything. I felt like some kind of potential was wasting away in me and that I wasn't actualizing it and it ate at my insides
Yep.
and I
Me
couldn't
too.
get it to stop. And I think that's the entrepreneur bug. It's a blessing or a curse, depending on who you ask.
Well, maybe an entrepreneur needs to have that drive within themselves so they don't have to be pushed by anybody else. Because a lot of other people look forward to retirement all of their life and they work 40 hours a week for somebody else for 45 years of their life. And some of them do enjoy it
Some people do.
very much.
I
And,
think you just got to be wired a certain way.
and absolutely.
Yeah.
And some people fit there. And what we're doing on this podcast is helping people know where they fit better,
Yeah.
helping them see themselves in reality and what it takes for you to do what you do
Yeah.
as a business owner and why you do what you do. And you just said it was because it's the way that I'm wired. I have this drive in me. I want to do something.
I do want to do something. I can't sit still.
So right now you're helping people. Your tagline again?
Help people get found online.
And you're doing that for many people, apparently, because that's a pretty good size number annual revenue wise.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me is like I partner with local businesses. So until this point, all of my like revenue customer base is here in Tulsa. My goal this year is to take that more nationwide within a certain like vertical for certain kind of customer. There's a guy I follow a lot. His name's Alex Hormozy, and he has this thing called the 111 model. So one product, one client, or one product, one avatar, one channel. So in this aspect, for example, like let's say we want to do like online marketing for roofers, for example, right? So that's the product, online marketing, or whatever system it is. So like Google Ads, SEO, local service ads, website. We'll say, that on like a certain, I usually do it on like a monthly retainer. And then we figure out who the avatar is. That's roofers. Now, how are we going to get in front of roofers? We can say, well, we want to talk to roofers. We'll run Facebook ads. And I've seen businesses go to a million plus just by focusing on those three things, keeping it simple. Because it's like what's the analogy? The man who chases two rabbits gets neither. It's like when you do 10 different things and you spread yourself really thin, yeah, you've built yourself a really good job at that point, I think. But if the business only relies on you personally, it gets really difficult to grow and expand because you've got to teach other people to be like you instead of do something that's like more of a repeatable task. And then you can focus your efforts. Like as a business owner, the focus is a resource. And I think it's where we spend it is where we get the most leverage, is what we focus on the most. So where we choose to focus will ultimately develop or not develop, depending on what we focus on.
Yes, yes. I used to have a company that built retaining walls all over the state of Oklahoma and some in Arkansas. And I called our systematic approach. We made it as simple as flipping burgers. Not that flipping burgers is that simple. It's just systematic. You go to one of these franchised places or major corporations, and they've got their systems in place. And that's what you're talking about, is having a systematic approach to doing stuff exactly the way that it needs to be done, and it's repeatable.
Yeah. It's repeatable and it gets results. That's the big one. Because if it doesn't get any results, it doesn't matter how repeatable it is. It doesn't help anybody.
Right.
Like
Yes.
that's the goal at the end of the day. Is like, yeah, I want to build a machine for people, for business owners, or whoever I work with, that they can put $1 into and get 4 back out of. And then the only constraint is how many dollars we can put into the machine because it produces. And we see that it produces.
So you have that tight of a niche that you serve one type of customer with this.
Going forward, that's what I'm working on. So up until this point, no, I've actually been a generalist. I've worked with a lot of different companies. So one of my favorite case studies is for a family law attorney in Tulsa. And
Okay.
her story is not my
Yeah.
full story to tell, but the long and short of it is she started with us in September, October, I believe. We started really ramping things up in December. In February, we got her close to 50 new inquiries for family law. I can't take credit for all of them. Some of them come from her audience and the work she's put into. But through that whole system with everything we track, 50 new leads for a business that's what, 4 or 5 months old? That's pretty great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Do you mind sharing with us? Is it going to be a roofer or the roofing industry that you're going after, or who are you going to try to? Do you mind sharing that? If you
Yeah.
do, it's okay.
I mean, it's the same formula, but I'm doing it for family law attorneys. I really like the formula I built for this existing client, and I can repeat this nationwide. I
Okay.
do industry exclusivity, so I'm not going to take on any of her competitors or any competitors to my existing clients within their geographic radius.
Wow.
So
So
there's an ethical point to me that's important. Some companies don't do that. Personally, I can't guarantee 2 people being number 1 at the same time. So that's a hang up for me maybe, but that's how I see it.
if you're promising to get people to number one, then absolutely. You can't promise 2 people or 2 companies to get to number one.
No.
Sounds like you're just kind of falling into things, though. You were shotgun and infecting it, and then you found something,
In a
a
way,
jewel.
it found me, more like it.
So, how did she find you?
Networking. It was a referral from somebody else.
So, let's refine this a little bit more. You went to a networking group not knowing who you were going to meet, and then you found this as part of other things that you were already doing. Then you've narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down, and you found your one thing that you feel is your highway,
Yeah,
that you're going to be able to help people nationally achieve something great to help with family law.
that's right. The goal is to help family law attorneys grow and expand their practices through what I do, online marketing.
How do
And
you reach these people?
Facebook ads.
Really?
Hmm.
Facebook ads,
Yeah,
paid ads.
paid ads. It's repeatable and it's consistent. Like that's the downfall of networking is that while it's awesome and you build relationships and you make a lot of friends, there's not a consistency to it. You can't predict how many referrals you're going to get in a month to a degree. Or at least I don't have it systemized like that. If somebody does, then we need to have a conversation. But for me, it's there's so much more control. I know if I spend like 40 or $50, that equates to one phone call. I know I need to have 30 phone calls in a month. Okay. Let's work backwards. 30 phone calls in a month, close 4 to 5 of those on average. Now, how much does one phone call cost me? $50. Okay. So for 10, it's 500. For 30, it's 1,500. So spend $1,500 to acquire 4 to 5 new clients. Pretty repeatable, right? It's just math when you do it that way.
Sure. Yeah. Flipping burgers.
There's an art to that too. Don't overcook them.
Perfect timing. Got the timer on it, got it measured. They know how much it costs for each burger. They know how much it costs for everything involved. They know how much they should charge. They know how to advertise. There's a lot to know.
Yeah.
But when you know it and you've made it systematic, what do you get?
Get a good burger.
Good results.
That's right.
Good having you on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?